Hey people, how you doing? Welcome to the Sports Therapy Association podcast. I had to think then, it's been quite hectic getting ready for this particular one. You'll see why very soon. But anyway, this is episode 186 of the Sports Therapy Association podcast. My name is Matt Phillips, creator of OneChatLive.com. And as always, this episode is being recorded live on a Tuesday at 8 o'clock on the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel, Facebook page, and also in the Facebook open group. If you are listening and joining us live from the Facebook open group, then you do need to give Facebook permission for your questions, or rather your logo and ID to appear when you do ask questions live. There's a link in the post for you to do that. You've only got to click on it once. But what I'll also do for you, because I'm just that sort of guy, is I'll also put it on the screen here. And you just, like I say, click it once, and then you will be able to share your logo and people know who you are. Otherwise, it will just come up as Facebook user, like anonymous. If you want to find it, just type in b.live/comments-issue. So that's b.live/comments-issue. And once you do it once, that's it. Facebook will never ask you again. There we go. Right. So we are starting a 3-part episode or series called... let me just get my sheet up. What is it going to be called tonight? How to set up a massage therapy business, in which we're going to have a panel of experienced sports massage therapists and sports therapists who are going to share their experience and their tips on how to set up a sports massage clinic. Part 1, very shortly, is going to be setting up at your home, be it in a garage, a garden, or a room of the house. And then next week, in what will be episode 187, it's going to be looking at setting up a clinic in a gym or some kind of similar enterprise, so basically kind of renting off someone. And then part 3 in a couple of weeks, or episode 188, if you're listening to the podcast, is going to be looking at setting up as a massage therapist or a sports therapist in a mobile practice or concentrating on event work. So it's a series of episodes which we've had lots of requests for, so I'm really pleased that we're going to be getting this out there now. And if you are an STA member, if you're listening, and you like the idea of being on the panel, then what you can do is just email me, matt@sta.co.uk. Obviously, we can't go back in time. You can't be on tonight's show. Impossible. But if you're listening before February next week, the 27th, then you could be in the episode about working in a gym. Or if you're free on March the 5th, then you could be in the episode looking at mobile work and event work. Okay, so feel free to email me if you want to be on the panel. It'll give you an idea tonight about what we expect of you, which is very little, really. Before we start, I must give a massive thank you to last week's guest, Claire Boucher, who joined us for episode 185 in the episode entitled 𝐶𝐸𝐶𝐸𝐶. I've realized that all my life now I've been saying 𝐶𝐸𝐶𝐸𝐶, thinking sounds a bit like Barack Obama, but 𝐶𝐸𝐶𝐸𝐶 is how I have said it, and no one's picked me up on it. Maybe because I'm 6'6", I don't know. But apparently it's not. Apparently it's 𝐶𝐸𝐶𝐸𝐶𝐸𝐶. I always thought like thoracic, and I don't know. So anyway, it was entitled 𝐶𝐸𝐶𝐸𝐶𝐸𝐶, fascia and lower back pain. Claire should know because she's a lecturer of sports therapy and rehabilitation at Canterbury Christchurch University and a PhD researcher in the topic at the University of Kent. So I did not try and persuade her that my method of pronouncing it was correct. That would be ridiculous, mansplaining to a PhD researcher. And anyway, but it is a fascinating episode, a really good delve into the relationship between fascia structure and lower back pain, as well as an insider's look into the interpretation of ultrasound with regards to looking at fascia. So I do encourage you. Obviously, it's available as always on your favorite podcast app. If you want to watch it visually, then you can go to YouTube, and also you can either listen to it or watch it at the Sports Therapy Association website, which is the sta.co.uk. Right, there we go. Back to tonight's episode, which I'm very happy to say I've got a co-host tonight. So you're not going to have to listen to my voice for the next hour asking ridiculous questions. I'm delighted to be joined very shortly by the wonderful Nikki Mansfield of Mansfield Massage and Movement. And a lot of you will also know her through organising great CPD workshops and working with Born to Move, as well as probably other reasons. She's maybe a regular down your local, depending on what part of the world you live in. But yeah, many reasons where you might know our Nikki. So without further ado then, sit back. If you are in the live lounge, then obviously you're welcome to ask questions throughout and take advantage of the great experience we've got here. But I shall now bring up co-host Nikki Mansfield and also the STA panel for tonight in no particular order. Slowly but surely, we have the whole panel appearing.
Evening, everybody.
Good
There we
evening.
go. Hi, people.
Hi.
You're all live.
Hi,
You're all in the
everyone.
lounge.
Hi.
Fantastic. So thanks for joining us. The first thing to do, really, first of all, I just want to say thank you for giving up your time, for joining us and sharing your experience. I know it's really fascinating through our pre-chat before we went live, and you've all got wonderful individual stories and successes, which we're going to talk about shortly. But the first thing, guests, really is for our listeners to know. And obviously, tonight's show, people listening to the podcast, thank you as always. It's going to be quite visual, okay? Our guests on the panel are going to be sharing photos of before and after shots of their magnificent creations, whether it's a garage conversion or a shed in the garden, or it might be a room that's been converted, a pop-up room or something that appears in the house. So if you are listening to the podcast and you're thinking, oh, this is going to be great, to get maximum value out of it, I would recommend that you do halt now. Go to YouTube, Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel, and watch the recording, because it's going to be quite visuals. We'll try and describe what's on the screen, but I really recommend that you do, if possible, watch it on YouTube. So there we go. Right, let's start with my wonderful co-host, Nikki. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you, Matt. Really good.
Wonderful. Sorry about the dig at your alcohol. I shouldn't have brought that up, should I? It was a bit of a bad way to introduce you. But if you're, again, podcast people, you will appreciate why we're smiling here. Not only she got, no, I won't even go into it. You have to go to YouTube to see why we're smiling. But yeah, thanks.
Red wine.
Healthy glow.
It is.
Very healthy.
It's very,
Very healthy. You always look very, very well. And it's great to get to know you even more now. You're doing CPD hosting and doing so much more, and in the limelight everywhere. So how's that all going for you? Because not only are you a therapist magnifique, you're also hosting lots of great courses.
Oh, I am really enjoying the hosting. I mean, I enjoy, as we all do. Sorry, your shoes coming off.
No, you're fine. Sit back. Yeah, put your hand down, kick your shoes off.
I'm on a stool. Yes, I'm really enjoying the hosting. I love looking after people. I kind of came to terms with that a year or so ago. As actually that is something that is very, very important to me, and so I want to incorporate that into what I do. You know, most of us do, because we squeeze people and help them feel better. But the hosting of the courses is fantastic. We've got another one this weekend. I was only just on a course last weekend, so March and April should be a little bit less busy in that way. But of course, that's just preparing for the rest of them. I'm very, very fortunate to be hosting some wonderful educators, which you're all familiar with.
Amazing.
I feel like a very happy and lucky little people squeezer.
There you go. That's lovely to hear. And if people want details of all this up to, where's the best place? Is it website, or follow you on particular social media?
So on social media, my personal account is Soft Tissue Nikki. So at Soft Tissue Nikki on Instagram. I'm just Nikki Mansfield on Facebook. And for the CPD specifically, it's at MMM therapy _training.
Fantastic. If you listen to the podcast, then Nikki just pointed to her t-shirt logo, which was classic podcast material. So again, go to YouTube if you want the whole experience.
I always watch on YouTube. So
anyway,
listeners,
thank you very much for joining. And I'm really glad you did join us, because we're talking about a massage at home, which you've got massive experience in, which we'll talk about shortly. But also, hands up, I have never treated anybody from my home.
It's crazy.
No, not professionally.
Not even when you start, not even when you like you first kicked off and first qualified.
No, because I'm from kind of a gym background. So I started massage after being a personal trainer and a sports and conditioning coach. So I was always in a gym. I always had access to a room. And in fact, my brother started before me. I was kind of bend him upstairs in the gym, and he was mend him downstairs in the clinic. So we were bend him and mend him, and it worked very well. But then eventually I was like, I want to start mending them as well. So that's how I got into sports therapy. I already had a clinic waiting for me. So I was very lucky. Easy peasy for me. So yeah, it's been really cool that you're here to ask our panel questions. Talking of which, in no particular order, we're going to introduce you guys to who else is on the panel. So let's go to Hannah Tabram. Is that pronunciation okay?
Close enough. That'll do.
It's fine. It's a sensible name. It's easy. It's
fine,
yeah. On the tin, unlike other people in here. So yeah, where are you in the world, and what's your experience? What do you do?
So I am on the Norfolk-Suffolk border, and I am a level 4 sports massage therapist. And for the last year and a bit, I've been working from a converted shed in my back garden, which my husband insists should be called a log cabin. And I'm like, no, it is a shed. dear, it is a shed with ideas above its station, but it's a shed. But it's very nice. It's great. I really love working here. Love working in my shed.
Fantastic.
It's quiet and there are no children.
We're going to have photo. Oh, straight away, we're going to the benefits of maybe, having a shed in your garden instead of in the house straight away. That's the sort of thing we're going to touch into. So great. Thanks for joining us very much indeed. And let's go again in no particular order to Joe Holloway. Sadly can't be with us tonight because we couldn't get sound sorted out. Sorry, Joe. But maybe you're in the audience. If you are around, joining in the audience, and make sure you share your information in there, Joe, if you are watching. Let's go to Louise. Asher.
Hi. Yay, you got it right. It's only taken like 3 years, but anyway. No, it's fine. Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Louise Asher, sports therapist and personal trainer as well at the moment. So I qualified as a sports therapist BSc Honours at the University of Kent back in 2005. That seems like a long time ago. I know I look so young, right?
Yes.
And then I worked 6 years of doing that at football clubs and as a mobile therapist up until 2011 when my second child was born, and it didn't really work with the children. So completely went separately, something else, and then came back to this in 2018 and haven't looked back, basically. So I now work from home, but I don't have a fancy shed or garage conversion or a studio in the back garden. I have a pop-up clinic in my front room of my house. So it's a day room when it's not a clinic, and then when it's a clinic, it's the clinic for sports therapy work and exercise rehab.
That's amazing, because I remember you telling me it was a pop-up room, and all I'm thinking of, probably because of my age, a few other people are nodding, I'm just imagining one of those pop-up books where you just lift up cardboard cutouts and there you've got a couch there. And if you pull on a little bit of paper, then the pillow starts moving and stuff.
That would be cool.
That would be cool, wouldn't it? I can't wait to see.
If it was that easy.
Yeah, exactly.
So
right, and last but not least, thanks very much. And what part of the country did you say you're in?
Sorry. Yeah, I'm in Surrey. Tadworth by Epsom Downs, home of the racing derby.
There you go. Wicked. Brilliant. Well, thanks for joining us, Louise. And then Steve, waiting patiently there. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Not bad at all, thank you.
Tell us about yourself and your setup.
Well, it's really interesting. I'm just down the road from Hannah, just outside Norwich, in a place called Blowfield. And
you really are just down the road.
It's really interesting, Louise. I used to live in Burheath.
Oh wow, that is literally that's where I am, Burheath, more or less. Yeah.
So just down the road.
Oh, amazing.
We've been up in Norfolk getting on for a good 15 years now, and I sort of thought about where would I sort of start a business. I looked outside, sort of renting somewhere, and the money that people wanted was absolutely astronomical. So I thought, right, I'm going to start in a spare bedroom. Business really started to grow tremendously. To the interesting thing, people would be coming up when they heard what we were doing, and they were knocking on the front door. I thought, this has got to change. Our garage bed was not really fit for purpose, and looking at business rates and everything else, we decided to knock down the garage and to get I think I'm going to word this very carefully now, a purpose-built shed for the purpose of treatment and activities built. And it's absolutely fantastic. I could not be happier.
Well, I mean, so there seems to be a common theme here. I mean, you guys are just maybe naturally upbeat, but it seems you all seem really happy with your setup. Is that fair to say?
Yeah,
all works for you. That's great. Which is something we want to talk about tonight, because obviously this episode is all about how to set up your business and at home. So whether it be a garage or in a room or in a purpose-built kind of shed, or what you want to call it, or log cabin, according to somebody's other half, in the garden. But the fact is, our experts, yeah, we call you experts, our experts here are all happy. So something's gone right, but I'm sure it was never plain sailing, and hopefully we'll cover some of those as well. I just want to have a little shout out to people who have joined us live. First of all, we got birthday celebrations for Brian Huxley, who's a regular listener, normally one of the first to the door. So happy birthday, Brian. Thanks very much for joining us. Many happy returns. Also, Penny from Soma Sports Massage Therapy, who was on the show a couple of weeks ago. She actually forsake. She gave up a CPD opportunity to join us tonight live as well. So thanks, Penny. Yeah, bless you. Thank you very much. I hope we don't all let you down compared to what you did think you're going to do. So thanks. And obviously everybody who's joined us live as well. Cecily Hislop is here as well. Thank you, Glenn Murphy, John W, and everyone else who's in the room. Oh, Joe H, nice to see you again. So Joe Hill is here as well. In spirit, so thank you. And Natalie S says, evening, able to join live for once. So great. Right, let's get down to business.
You missed the bit that there's up there. Nikki's great. You got to read that one out as well.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Let's just read newsflash from Penny at Soma Sports Massage Therapy. Nikki is great. I can't wait. There you go. That's from Penny. Thank you for that. Right. So yeah, let's get down to business. It's going to be personal experience. So before we do that, before we start delving into your own personal setup, are there any kind of overall bits of advice or things you'd like to say about just working at home as opposed to working in a gym or for somebody else? What are some of the overall advantages or maybe difficulties? However you want to start off the conversation.
Well, I can start. So I used to work in a clinic, so I used to pay rent, I guess, to the clinic and get half the money of what I was doing all the hard work for. So working from home, you have less expenditure and you've got more flexibility with your hours as well. So there's a couple of advantages already. The difficulty I have, because it is in my actual house, is when my kids are coming in from school and I've got a client in the house. So that can be a bit awkward at times. That's generally the main thing. Or like my partner can't get dinner ready because I'm working in the front room. And it just has to all be delayed, or that's the only difficult thing, because I don't have a separate room. It's quite all open plan, but I use wall dividers, which I show when I share my screen. You can see that how it gets set away from everybody else, but you can still hear the background noise, but it's still quite private anyway. So yeah.
How long have you had that set up, Louise?
Since COVID. So really, once COVID was done and we were able to see people again face to face, that's when I decided that actually, do you know what, I can do this from home. So it's much better. And yeah.
Okay.
So I've been doing it. So when COVID, 2021, I started doing it from home.
Yeah.
But in the first instance, when we were doing the COVID times and we were allowed to work, it was like really restricted though. I had like loads of gaps between people, and yeah. I'm
interested, Louise. You mentioned that it's cheaper, obviously, than working for employed. Do you think some people who are struggling, because let's face it, we're all living in times where money is getting tight, shopping prices, everything, all the bills are going up massively, and we can't keep up in terms of raising prices to meet, the increase in everything else. Do you think some people maybe don't necessarily think about working from home when it should be an option they consider? Do you think it could be a good step for somebody rather than just going, I can't do this anymore? Would it be a viable step for some
definitely
people?
Yeah, I'd say definitely.
I think people overestimate how difficult it would be. A lot of people think there'll be a problem with insurance, and there's plenty of insurance companies that insure you. They assume there's some kind of council restrictions, and there's very few areas where in some counties or districts you have to get a license to practice massage, but not most of them. And usually you can be exempt if you're a member of a professional association. I know that's true in an awful lot of the London boroughs. I think people assume that it will be too difficult and too prohibitive. And then also, I'm fortunate, I live alone, so I'm the one who makes all the decisions in my house. And it did make it easier for things like COVID, because I used to operate out of my front room, which was dedicated in my old house. So that's the only thing that ever went on in there. But when they raised the rule that said you can't have clients if it's a shared entrance with the rest of your family, so that wasn't an issue for me. But they are things to consider. There's things we learned from COVID, I think, that would be good things to do in your business anyway, to keep them a little bit separate, and in case anything like that ever happens again. So I made sure there's a separate entrance and things like that. But it isn't as prohibitive as a lot of people think.
So what about that topic of insurance? You mentioned that, and this is for everybody as well. I mean, I don't know whether you want to disclose how much you pay, but I mean, most people probably haven't got a clue. They probably think it's quite astronomical. But
I approached 𝐵𝐴𝐿𝐴NS when I thought, and I did it again actually recently as well, because I was changing insurer because one of them stopped doing it. And I spoke to 𝐵𝐴𝐿ANS because I was going to get staff in. I ended up getting staff at my other clinic in the gym. I had to see if I could change my insurance to have business visitors. They're called business visitors, one at a time. You tell them that you've got one at a time. You have some insurance companies say you've got a limit, so you can only have up to 10 single business visitors a day. Some insurance companies say 3. Depends what they're going to what access they've got to the rest of the house. So if you've got lockable doors, that really, really helps. So then you have clauses in your insurance. So, for example, in my old house, different here because it's a locked, separate place. But in my old house, whilst it was the first room when you walked in, they had free reign of the house. You know, they could knock me out, punch me lights out, and nick everything. So you weren't covered for cash losses or anything from not being broken into. But it's really reasonable. 𝐵𝐴𝐿ANS are quoting like 1,200, 1,400 quid, and my insurance costs £245. My buildings, home, and contents, including the business stuff, it's less than 250 quid a year. Wow. And it was in my old place with me working in the living room, and it is now with me in a separate garage. You just got to answer the questions correctly on the comparison websites, and then when you go through to your insurer, make sure that all of those questions, because sometimes there's a little bit of where they haven't crossed over necessarily between one and another website. And then I just make sure I go on the chat, so web chat, and I just got all my questions answered. So you have to say what category you're operating as. And I said healthcare, and the man said, well, can you tell me what you do? And I explained it, and he went, no, that's into beauty. So there's like a bit of me kind of went, no, it's bloody not.
Yeah.
And he says, no, he said it is. That's what I've got. He said, I've got a list of healthcare here, and massage therapists is underneath there. He said, this not healthcare, beauty. He said, if it's healthcare, we can't insure you. I was like, oh, I'm definitely in
beauty. Yeah. That's an interesting one. That's interesting.
Yeah. So
what else we got of insurers, people? Does that shock you that Nikki's paying that amount? Are you paying a lot more, or is that?
I don't think mine. I didn't even go on a price comparison website. I just got in touch with the people that do our home insurance and said, I'm building a garden office. I'm going to have clients coming. Is that okay? And again, I went through on the web chat, and there were lots of questions about, are they going to be accessing the house? Is there a separate entrance?
Yeah.
How many people are going to be there? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. Carry on. I don't think my insurance actually went
in premium.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
I don't think it did. I mean, you know, it's a couple of years ago, and I have trouble remembering what happened 2 minutes ago. But yeah, if it did, it was negligible. It was enough that I was like, yeah, fine, not even going to look for anyone else.
That's
Yeah.
It was not. And the mortgage, again, if you have a mortgage, certainly I had to speak to the mortgage company, and they were like, yeah, fine, crack on, do it.
That's another thing that scares people, because I've only just recently bought this house in the last 2 years. I had to make sure that it was okay for business use. And it turns out that the vast majority of any standard mortgage allows up to anything between 50 and 80% of your square footage to be used for business without having to tell them. And only if it surpasses that do you have to tell them, and you have to have a change of use, and then the mortgage they might not want to give you that mortgage. But it's a huge allowance, just as standard.
Yeah. It was really, for me, it was just a matter of sort of going on web chats for the companies and saying, look, I'm planning on doing this. Is it okay? Can I do this? And it was literally an afternoon's work, and it was fine. It was just one of those things you want to have that conversation, obviously, before you start digging out foundations or knocking down walls. But yeah, it was fine.
Steve, you've been you've been working from home for 14 years, is it, or something like that?
A long time.
So with regards to insurance and overheads, have things changed, or has it always been fairly accessible?
I think I was trying to think. Ours is about £500 a year, so not too bad at all. I think one of the big things that I think I found important is to have a separate entrance for patients. And I think when you're dealing with people, people could, neighbours could ask a few questions and it'll be a bit funny, but the fact is it's separate, and the neighbours know what you do and the people know what you do, and you are very professional in everything that you say and do. I think that's the most important thing to start with, and then as you go on from there, I think one of the big things they should start is about building positive relationships with people. And I think one of the bigger things is that when people see, people see what you do, and people see that you care, and people find out that, they will come back to you 10 times out of 10.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic, great advice.
And I think especially like Steve, do you find like you're in quite a small community like I am, because I'm a little village. Well, you become known in the village as like, oh, I've hurt my back, I'm going to go and see this person. You become like the village massage lady stroke man.
Yes, I mean, I think one of the things that I really, one of the things I have a German Shepherd, and I love sort of chilling out, just taking him for a walk. And I always remember one day this lady, she was on the bike on the other side of the road, and she suddenly comes towards me, and she said, "You're Steve, aren't you?" And she said, "I've hurt my shoulder," and she is practically starting to strip off. and I said, "Well, listen, you give me a ring and make an appointment and come and see me." But I think the big thing that's community, and I think when you sort of write something for on the little community magazines, it's just amazing the work that you can get from there. People want us to know about bad bags. People today, I think, they don't want medication, they want treatment.
Mm-hmm. So here's a question. Look, do you think, we're talking about how great it is to work at home, does it depend? Is it a good idea if you're in a little community where your advertising is done whilst you're walking the dog? Does that mean that maybe setting up yourself in clinic in the middle of somewhere busy in London, where is that going to present more difficulties and maybe not give it to you on a plate because it's going to be tricky to get known? Or what do you think?
I think I've had enough of London. I think it's a different community. I think if we got off the train at Liverpool Street, I think I change. I head back towards the country. I learn to chill out, and I think that's the thing. And a lot of my patients, they are very much of that nature.
But is part of the success of working at home being in a village, being in a town? Do you think that's part of it? Or could you do it anywhere?
I still have to advertise as much as I ever did. I'm in a street with 24 houses. Not actually one of them has been a client. Probably 30% of my clients are from my same town, but I have people driving from all over the place. So there is some reach, but I'd say you're probably faced with the same kind of marketing challenges as anywhere else. Like in a gym, you got some access to some clients there, so you don't get that kind of benefit.
I think it depends on what your niche is as well. I mean, obviously, if you are going really heavily on the treating of the athletes and the sports side of it, then probably being in a gym is quite a good place to be based. I mean, for me, my niche is sort of, yes, I have lots of runners that come to see me and lots of very sporty people, but I also have lots of people who might look at sports massage and say, actually, this is not something for me, but I'm going to go and see her because she's got a nice room in her garden and she's got all the fluffy blankets and the towels, and it's sort of non-intimidating for people who maybe don't think sports massage is for them, if I'm putting that across properly. And so having that kind of, they can come here and it's very quiet and it's nice and they can park on my driveway, they don't have to worry about anything. It works quite well for my niche, and so people will come here specifically, if that makes sense.
Okay, other advantages, right? So we talked about insurance, and we talked about how costs are actually lower than people think. What other advantages come to your mind about working at home, whether it be?
For me, it's a flexibility. I have a lot of different roles, and I like to be able to have the flexibility to move between them. I like structure. It's no secret. So I'll be, from 1:30 till 8 o'clock. That's it. That's when I'm seeing clients. But before that, it's all the kind of the admin. But I like the fact that I can put a load of washing on and then come and have a Zoom and then go and take that off. I like walking 30 seconds to work. I just got back from a weekend of driving, and that car is staying on that drive now for the duration. I find the bits that I've spoken to people at networking meetings in the past, and they've said, how do you deal with the distractions of working from home? How do you keep yourself disciplined? And I've never really struggled in that way, because it has always been a dedicated space. So it was a front room before, and this is a garage conversion, but it's a dedicated space. So if I'm here, I'm working. And then I go elsewhere to not work.
Can I jump in for a minute?
Yeah, definitely.
You go for it.
Yeah. I think one of the big things, in the past when we were in London, I did try for a little bit, working in the clinic, and it just didn't. It just didn't do it for me. It felt sort of too impersonal. It felt quite rushed. And I think one of the bigger things now, working from home, I really, not a morbid thing, but I love dealing with injury. And, a lot of my people they're police officers, prison officers, members of the fire brigade. And I think it's amazing what sort of injuries those sort of people do carry. And a lot of people who are in chronic pain and stuff like that. And I think as you go on and as you build your business, one of the things is that it's very important to, if you have to you want a good relationship with GPs, and I think sometimes that's very hard to build, but what you write to them and how you talk to them, I think that's a thing from the start, that you have to be on their wavelength. I think one of the nice things is that GPs, I've got a good working relationship with people, and I think the fact is with GPs, physios do so much, we do a fair bit as well. But people will come to you because they know you and they trust you.
Okay, so working from home, then that brings us on maybe to a topic of, how is your relationship with other health professionals? Is it affected by the fact you're working from your home? Do you think that maybe you're not taking as seriously as somebody who is within a big organization or some building? Or do you find it makes any difference at all where you're working?
Makes
I
no
don't think it
difference.
makes
Have you got any experience?
No
No
difference.
No? That might be a fear. Some people might have even more imposter syndrome, thinking I'm working from my home rather than, working down at the massive sports centre or something down the road.
How do you
guys
find
don't suffer from that?
Louise, how do you find it? Because you worked in a clinic before. Have you noticed a change that you started working at home?
Are you on mute, Louise? Can't hear you. We've got a cartoon, kind of a
I've got like Minnie Mouse going on here.
Minnie Mouse thing going on with your microphone.
Oh no.
Matt, can I jump in, Matt?
We'll come back to that. But so because I imagine some people might feel, working from my home, the same way sometimes sports therapists think, oh yeah, I do all right, but I'm not a physio. I'm wondering whether there is any of that imposter syndrome of, I look after patients, but I'm at home. I'm not in a kind of a building. I haven't got my own kind of business in four wheels.
I've never considered it making a difference, but maybe that's because I'm cocky and I just think, well, I'm the therapist.
It's a personality thing. Yeah.
I'm the one who deals with the other healthcare professionals. And it is so common, actually thinking about it, I did make sure this place was set up as a really professional looking place. But whilst I've got a couple of plants, it's all clinical. That helps me. That's what I wanted personally. So it's even my living room setup was quite clinical, but I can't get rid of the old Victorian fireplace and things like that. But people said they liked that kind of thing.
Cool.
I'm not. It's an interesting question. I've not considered it affecting how other professionals might think of you.
I mean, that's nice for listeners to know. I'm just thinking of potential barriers which people outside have got. If they can save money from being at home, and this is not going to be for everybody, obviously. I think a big factor, which we've already touched on, is personality. Are you able to concentrate at home? Are you able to multitask? Are you able not just to put your feet up and think, I can't bother, let's just read this or play my video games? It does take a certain personality, but for people who it could mean the difference between closing shop and not staying in the industry and
Absolutely.
actually continuing, it's good to get these barriers out of the way. Penny in the chat room there says it from Soma Sports Massage Therapy, it makes no difference where you're working from. And that's a nice segue into, I think it'd be nice for us to share, or you guys to share some of your setups to show just how I'm lucky I've seen them, but they're pretty professional. I mean, they're looking great. They're not, in case our listeners are thinking that what someone's done is just flip up a couch in kind of like the bedroom and just kind of, you've got your bookshelf and Teddy's in the background or the kids washing or something. It's just not, that's not how we're nothing wrong with that.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Make sure your washing's out of the way. No, I said that. Anyway, yeah, who should we, we've got the advantage here of garage conversion. Co-host Nikki, maybe you could get your pictures ready.
Because I'm thinking that actually might be one of the barriers, is people think, and it is hard work, getting to where you want to be, but it's all, I'm sure all of us here think it would be totally worth it.
So whilst Nikki's getting her photos ready, if you listen to the podcast, this might be an opportunity for you to go to YouTube, because we're going to see before and afters of what Nikki's created, and I've seen them before, and it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool, and it may well be inspire you, might show you as Nikki talks us through it. This is something I could do. I don't really use my garage. The car's always on the driveway. Could I save X amount of money by working from home? It might be incredible. So I'm going to share this on the screen, but we will explain what's going on to podcast listeners. Here we go.
So can you see that okay? Not yet, Matt.
I'm going to make it bigger so we can all see what's going on. There we go.
Okay. So that is the view from my utility. So my garage is attached to my house, and I know that there are garages that aren't, and there are some things that are different. So that is the garage, the view from the garage from my utility room door. So that's where it all started. So things that are different is I can obviously put plumbing and heating in that if I wanted to, and I do have heating in there. And if you've got a separate garage, that might be a bit difficult. A key thing is all I needed was building regs approval, and that might be a bit different if you've got a separate garage. I think it'll still be building regs approval, but that might be a bit different.
I think it depends how big it is.
Yeah, if you're adding any square footage, anything else to the floor plan, to making anything bigger or moving anything, it's planning permission, which is a whole other ball game. But building regs was the councils make it really easy for you to manage it yourself these days, and you just basically go and register, pay 360 quid, and then all you got to do is arrange site visits at the appropriate points, and your builder will manage it with you.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
So I'm going to flick quite quickly through these just to kind of show a beginning to end. But there's the view from the outside, so you can see some of the pipes being laid. So you can see that we really did start with a bare shell of a garage, and that's what it looked like from the front. 1 point while I'm here, that gas meter box was new. So my gas meter was inside my garage. You can't see it there. Big, massive, chunky thing. So that's something to consider. If you're going to convert your garage and your gas meter is inside, they now legally have to be outside. Also, that would have been at head height for when people came in. And that did work out about, I've got it written down, probably about 700 quid to relocate that to outside and get it as a smart meter. So again, not massively prohibitive. Good. It's good if you don't need to.
Was this work done by external people, or have you got you yourself or people you know?
Builder.
Hey, there's another.
I did get 3 quotes, and they all came in pretty similar.
Isn't that brilliant?
But he I trust him. I really, really trust him.
Very cool.
And there's my plumber as well, who's also a client.
That's so amazing. That's a great point. I mean, literally, you could be having this done whilst you're paying for your treatments. It's great. Very good.
Yeah, that would have cost a lot of treatments.
It could help.
So I was amazed how quickly progress was made. So you get stud work goes up first, and so you'll see there's a wall there kind of here in front. So this is now the door to my treatment room, and I asked him to create an extra wide corridor for wheelchair access and an extra wide access door. So that's the back room, and then there's that utility room that I was looking from before. And then it's basically, so that's just all it works. This is the kind of disruption you can expect if you need a gas meter putting in. And so insulation, there's absolutely tons of insulation in any new stuff as of a couple of years ago. So bear that in mind, because the dimensions of your garage will not be the dimensions of your finished treatment room. I couldn't fit in my old cabinet, which was nice because I got an excuse to buy new furniture. But because all of a sudden my ceiling was low and my floor was higher, things wouldn't fit in. So there's lots of options. You can have a floating floor. I had a floating floor put in. Then you have pipe work above and below, so that all gets all covered up. I'll show that one. I'm showing you because remember what that looked like. That's what my electricity box. There is a window that I was having cut in. Building regs wouldn't let me have two, so that's something to bear in mind. Just something to do with how wobbly that wall might become.
Okay.
But they'll let you know that straight away at the beginning. And there it is, looking like a bit like a space station. And then where the opening was for the garage door, that's the first bit of the wall that was going in. So you might have to have a big stanchion put in if you're having a heavy window like I did. So that's more cost. Electrics going in, plasterboard, that was a big step because it starts to look like a real room. And then there's what will be a window. So this is a cool one. So that reminds me of the Matrix. Everyone remember that bit in the Matrix where it glitches?
Yes.
And it's a brick wall. This freaked me out for at least 2 days. So that's the view. So Steve was talking about a community and having kind of like getting a name for yourself. Be kind to your neighbours as well, because you will have, this took 6 or 8 weeks.
Okay.
There will be a lot of disruption.
Yeah.
Throughout that time. So go around and talk to your neighbours, tell them it's all going to be going on. I had a lady who lives next door who works on night shift, so I made sure none of the noisy stuff was happening. They absolutely adored me for that, gave me a bottle of champagne. This is my clever builder boxing in the electrics in a cupboard that only a massage therapist would like, because there's perfect slots for your couch rolls. There's my new entrance door once those bricks have been cut out, and that's what it looks from the outside. So this is actually approach from so there it is with the door in it. So there's the new window that was put in. There was the new door that was put in. I had some lighting stick that stuck down the side, which you can see from the wires. And there's my wall, which he did quite a good job of matching.
Very clever.
So from that point on, it moves. It felt like to me it moved really fast, but the builder, he was like, oh, it's going so slow. One thing, I've put this in because there's dehumidifiers everywhere. Plaster takes a long time to dry, especially if you do it in winter, so bear that in mind.
Look at that. Well, if it is the podcast, it's well worth going over to YouTube just in case you're thinking of garage conversions. It's giving, I mean, you documented this, looks like every 5 minutes, Nikki.
Mate, I was, did you not see my posts on Facebook for last February and March? It was like,
it was
stories going with it. I made up a song for one of them. I made up a whole song about my front door.
We'll give links to the song, obviously, in the show notes. Right, so yeah, let's flick through to what we're looking at now.
Yeah.
I want to leave time for...
Yeah, that's what I'm getting to. So flooring gone down and then the blinds going up with the last bit. So this is...
Beautiful.
Here we go.
That's incredible. That's for a garage.
That looks really nice.
Look at that.
Just look at that.
How cool is that?
Wow. Yeah. I mean, this answers the question of, would you have any envy of not being in another building? This looks beautiful. Yeah, very good. We are open. That's smashing.
Yeah, see, there's a little bit. So then I did this video for my clients saying, there you go, you walk down the side here. So basically it's just a little walkthrough, just so that people are aware, how to get in, where to find you. But this is in my home, but it's completely separate. So my home is on the right of that image there. And then this is all self-contained, because I will have staff in here at some point. That is part of the grand vision.
Yes.
And I need it all to be separate. So I've got easy access to, there's a toilet right off the corridor and there's a sink just beyond that. So this is all going to be self-contained and able to have a team.
Fantastic.
Very cool. Geez, you set a bit of a benchmark now. Everyone else on the panel. Oh my God.
I've seen Hannah's shipping connections.
I might just go.
I'll get my coat.
That's really nice.
Very nice. That's amazing, Nikki. But that's like, I mean, that's really cool, because I don't think anyone else has got a garage conversion happening. So that's a real eye opener. I am happy if anyone wants to ask any questions. I'm on the forum, so just pop any questions, because there's going to be things that I haven't mentioned. So wow. That was a treat. Thank you so much.
It's my
That's
pleasure.
amazing.
Let me
That's
share it.
amazing. That's so beautiful. And the whole process, you say, was about, what did you say, 6 weeks, did you? That seems quite
So
quick.
it started February the 14th, Valentine's Day last year, and ended, I think I had my first clients in the first week in April. So
Oh, wow.
6 weeks,
Yeah. That's good
which is
going.
not bad for
No.
winter time.
But it probably helped that the builders were clients/colleagues of yours, because that's one of the biggest hindrances, isn't it? Is builders disappearing.
Yeah. I grew up in a family from the building industry, so I kind of know my way around the building industry.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I've lived in this area for nearly 20 years now, and I've been doing this for nearly 15 years. And so I've already built up. So I've got a plumber, I've got a sparky, I've got a builder. If you were moving to a new place and doing this, it might be a bit different because you would expect somebody to manage it all, whereas I was managing it with my builder.
Amazing. Okay, amazing. Right, what should we go for? Who wants to share? Do we go for log cabin or pop up, or do we go for garden, purpose built kind of beautiful shed? What should we go for? Who's feeling like sharing?
Can you hear me now or not?
Yeah, we'll go for the log cabin. Louise, try to
Okay.
speak.
You know, like Louise, welcome back.
Yes, you were
Oh, you
speaking
can.
before.
Oh,
It's
good.
fine now.
Sorry.
It's fine
Hang
now.
on.
Right,
Okay, cool.
Hannah is going to bring up. So Hannah Tabram, you are
Hang on.
going to share your purpose-built shed, which you insisted is a shed. It's not a log cabin.
It is a shed. I'm fine with that. There you go.
So good. We're going to bring up these photos again. If you listen to the podcast, we'll try and describe what's in them, but it might be a good opportunity if you're thinking of putting a structure in your garden, of having a look at these pictures as Hannah talks us through it.
Cool.
So
Can
let's show
everyone
that.
see those?
There you go.
So this is my before. You can kind of see. So for those that can't see, it's basically a square of lawn, which looks really flat and smooth in this picture, and it was not. It was incredibly bumpy. And you can just see a square string, a square made of string laid out, and that's the footprint of the building. So we did the vast majority of work on this ourselves because we wanted to save money doing this. The only thing that we had professionals in to do was actually putting the shed up itself. The shed was made to order to the size I wanted, and the electrics, and everything else we did ourselves. So this is a before. This is a during. This is my husband who was breaking up rubble to build the concrete base. And for those who can't see, he has a jackhammer, which we borrowed off a client because building clients. And after I took this picture, I realized he was wearing his Crocs because it was a really hot day. And I did send him away to go and put some please go and put your boots on. I really like you with all your toes. But this is the kind of work we had to do. So we shifted, I don't know how much rubble we shifted, lots and lots of rubble.
Wow.
Most of which we got for free. We put a post on Facebook and said we need rubble for a base, and people just turned up, so we had to break it up ourselves.
Amazing. Another great tip.
That's good.
But I mean, yeah, for things like that, if you ask, there will always be someone doing building work. It'll be like, please come and take it away, please, because people have to pay for a skip. So always ask for that kind of thing. This is the building itself going up. So again, this is a half-built shed, and you can kind of see it's standing on breeze blocks, which is how we decided to overcome the bumpy ground situation. It was so bumpy we couldn't actually lay a concrete slab without it just costing an arm and a leg. So we built these plinths of breeze blocks, which is probably not something I would do again. It was really, really difficult. I think if you're really, really good at DIY, you'd probably be fine. But we were like, this will be fine. How hard can it be? Turned out it was quite hard. So the building is halfway up. The floor is actually ready insulated. And then the shed is actually lined with this brown paper, which is a damp-proof membrane. So that's how it came. It is kind of a shed in the sense that they make them to order, and they are kind of like garden room, summer house type things. And this is the finished product when it was up. So this is the exterior of the shed. I have since painted it. So you can see we've laid a gravel path that comes up the garden, and we've built a step. Nice. If you go onto my Instagram, which is Hannah Tabram Sports Massage, I've got a little video where I start on the driveway and walk all the way up and show people around the room. So if anyone's interested, you can see the whole thing. And this is the interior.
Oh, that's nice.
So we boarded it out with plasterboard. There's a lot of insulation in the walls and in the ceiling behind this, which we put in ourselves. This is all plasterboard. We didn't actually have it plastered. We didn't skim it. Basically, what we did is I learned how to do joint taping. So you get tape and filler, and you basically tape in the joints, and then you put a mist coat, and we painted it all ourselves. We did all of that. It's got an electric heater on the wall. Obviously, the electrician did that. It's got my table right in the middle of the room, just a portable table, because it's quite handy to be able to move it from side to side.
Beautiful.
What I was saying before about building regs, I should say that this is only applicable to England as far as I know, because planning is a devolved issue. And I will also say it's a really long time since I worked in planning. So please don't take this as gospel and like sue me if you get it wrong. But building regs, you can put a garden office up in your garden, and if it has a square footage floor space of less than 15 square meters, you can do that. It counts as permitted development. There are also rules with how high it can be. And this may not apply if you're in a conservation area or if you have a listed building that you live in. Your local authority will be able to advise you on this. But for mine, I didn't need any building regs. I didn't need planning permission. You could just put this up.
Oh, wow.
The only thing you need building regs sign off is on the electrics. So you get a qualified electrician to do that, and they can sign that off for you.
So you have electricity, kind of, does it go into your back lawn?
Basically it comes from a consumer unit, which is in the garage, and then there's an armoured cable that runs all the way up the garden that's buried. And I've got another little fuse box in the shed, which is sort of just over my head, in fact, in a little cupboard, and it's all wired up. So that was all signed off by the electrician who's qualified to do that. My shed is not plumbed in. I don't have running water. What I have is a little portable sink, which you can kind of see in the corner of this picture. You just fill it with hot water and carry up. If you had it plumbed in, I think that makes it more complicated with building regs as well.
It will. So if you do have that plumbed in, what you've got to notice, what you've got to look out for is they assume that you are trying to install a granny flat, which is a residential dwelling, and everything changes.
And if I was going to have this like as a part-time guest room and have people sleeping overnight, then you have to have building regs sign off as well. If it's bigger than 15 square meters, then there are regulations about like non-combustible material and how close it can be to the garden fence. If anyone wants to know, if you look on the planning portal, which is a website which is run by the government, it's got all this information is there. It's all in fairly accessible format. There's definitely one for Wales, because I looked. I don't think Scotland's got one, but there is guidance in Scotland as well. That's my former civil servant bit done. You guys are going to have to Google
so well
because
done.
I've not been a civil servant for a long time.
There you go. Well.
But yeah, it took us from start to finish. It took us 6 months to do this. Obviously, we were working on it at weekends. I was trying to sort of run and still build up my business at this time. We have a small child who has additional needs, and my husband works full time. And it was quite nice if we got to sort of see each other occasionally as well, from not behind a bit of plasterboard and like wave at each other. It was really good. I'm really, really proud of how it turned out. It was really stressful to do it. I'm not going to lie. There was definitely a point when we were building the base and we were really stressing. And I looked at my husband and said, "Do you really hate me right now?" And he's like, "No, but I do really resent you." I'm like, okay, that's not great, is it?
Fantastic. No, that's amazing.
It must be very rewarding.
Yeah, and it looks lovely in there. It's quite incredible. And once again, you know, it's anybody who fears that their setup at home is not going to look professional, forget it. Have a look at what we've seen so far, and it's amazing. And there is an added charm to it, I think, as well. If you are handing over your body to a professional and giving them the option to treat you and touch you basically in ways that they're giving you their confidence and trust, then there's something very, like I think Steve was touching on, there's something very personal about it. So if you're going to someone's abode, if it's like next to where they live, that kind of encompasses that personalization, that individual. It's kind of, there's something very special about that, as opposed to going to like a gym where everyone, you know, other people just being, you know, going in and going out and stuff. So yeah, amazing. I'm inspired myself. Right, we've got 2 more to go.
Imagine it feels super, super personal at Louise's place, it being
the pop-up with the little tabs. Okay, Louise, if we're ready, share your screen and let's have a look at this.
Okay, let's go.
Louise Asher.
You need to unshare mine.
Oh yeah, I can take that off here just in case I get a little bit.
I'm going to not touch it.
That is off. I can do it with mine.
While we're doing that, I just want to respond to a question. Cecily's asked who my insurance is with. It's with Intelligent Insurance. I can't remember which. I think it's just through one of the comparison sites, but the actual company is called Intelligent Insurance.
Fantastic.
And they've been absolutely brilliant. Their online web chat is super, super helpful. I've never had, I think I might have spoken to one person once.
There we go. We'll make sure that any information like that gets put in the show notes. But yeah, that's great. People, if you've got other questions, just fire them away. Penny from Soma again has said, we all love a before and after photo shoot of a project like that. Yeah, we do. They are really inspiring pictures. I'm not going to lie. It's amazing.
Well, I'm hoping to inspire a few people to convert their garages.
Yeah. Right.
I don't have a garage.
Listen, I know.
You need a shed.
Or side access.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, we're going to now look at the next installment, which is a pop-up room. Here we go, Louise. Talk us through it.
Okay, here we go. So as I said, this is my front room. So this is before I've set it all up. As you can see, there's a telly there and there's the Xbox for the kids. There's my massage stool, but I've got my posters up. They stay up all the time. Okay. Much to the kids' annoyance anyway. So that's how it is before I set it up. And that's the back of it before I put the wall dividers up. This is my mother's bureau that I use as my desk. There's my medals. Yeah, we've got lots of those. I'm a keen runner. Right. So, and then this is me now setting it up. Hang on, go bigger.
Thank you very much.
So I cover the telly with my business logo.
Clever.
And the poster. Put some foam rollers in the view and my weights for any exercise rehab. And then this is with the couch set up. Nicely done.
Clever. Yeah.
Like you wouldn't think it was a front room.
Doesn't look like the same room.
So no, I know. It's amazing, isn't it?
That is impressive.
So just quite a few little photos there. This is my January promotion that I haven't got rid of them all yet, but they're little notebooks that says so the first one book says everything is grand. That's the green one. And the other one is be the best version of yourself. And then on the back it's got my business stuff. So if anyone needs a notebook to write their exercises down in, that's what I give them.
Very cool.
And there's a sofa for everyone to sit onto when they come and give me their assessment, subjective, and they talk about everything they need me to help them with. And then you can see my dividers here, which I set up. And then it shuts it away from the rest of the house.
The dividers look very professional.
They do.
Yeah. So that was originally a COVID buy for my future husband, because he was having an office at the back of the house and he wanted to shut it away from everybody during COVID time. So so we bought loads. We got about 4 of them, but these are what I use for mine at the moment. So
nice.
Yeah, that's it really. So in a nutshell.
Very clever.
And it works. So
how long does that take you to kind of set it up and then unset it up?
Oh well, all of about 10 to 15 minutes.
Wow. That's
Yeah. So that's the beauty of it, not like being able to open it and close it, because obviously this is my portable couch, which I then use when I go mobile therapy as well. So basically
you
when
do
I
quite
go
a lot of work, don't you, with running clubs and you've worked with football teams, so it makes sense for you to have a looser structure at home because you're going to be taking stuff out with you, so it makes sense.
That's it, exactly. So and then at the end of the day, around about 7 o'clock, when I more or less finish, I pack it all away and open it all up, and it's back to our house again, really. Okay. So but when people come in, I mean, they do come in through the front door, so we don't have a separate access, but they come through the front door and they come into that room, and those dividers separate as a little doorway. And then they just come into that bit, so they don't see anything else unless they need to use the toilet. Because the toilet is at the back of the house, and they do then obviously have to walk round to go to the loo. So sometimes that can't be helped, but that's it really.
I think that when people see you in your setting, so they kind of identify you more as a human and not a business, and I think they might be less likely to cancel late, to take the mickey. You know,
very good point.
They can see you've got a family.
So I had that difference when I was at the clinic. I used to get last minute cancellations all the time, because you never speak to the person before you see them, because they book it online or they book it through the phone for the receptionist. They don't speak to me. Then when I went completely private, it's all me talking to the client beforehand.
Yeah.
And I was sending out my reminders, and then they come back to me and said, "Yeah, thanks, Louise. Looking forward to seeing you," or "Can't wait. Really need it." You know, so I hardly ever get cancellation.
Very interesting point.
And then
that's a big problem, isn't it, for a lot of therapists?
but this year alone, because I was getting a few towards the end of last year, I've now set up a terms and conditions, private policy, and that goes out with the first assessment form, and they have to agree on that. And it just talks about like anything less than 48 hours notice. We'll talk about it. If it's very last minute, I'm sorry you have to pay. So it's awkward.
Never apologize. Don't say sorry.
Well, I'm getting used to. I've got to stop. I've got to learn to say no, and I've got to learn not to say sorry.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Louise. I mean, that really is inspiration
Welcome.
for somebody who's thinking, "Oh, I can't do it in my front room. That'd be awful." Have a look at the video. Look at what Louise is doing, and it'll hopefully give you some ideas of how you can literally with it, and so cleverly. By putting things over TV with your logo and the use of the bamboo kind of printed shutters, that always makes a place look professional. There's that association, isn't there, kind of like health and care with that sort of print. So yeah, really good stuff. That could well inspire some people to consider doing that. Really cool. There's an interesting comment here from Cecily Hislop, which just says, "Our garage is home to the husband's 2 road bikes and his turbo trainer. Fat chance of conversion for me."
Oh, poor Cecily.
Yeah. What you might need, Cecily, is to go on a 𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬𝐬 communication course, some kind of motivation interview thing. Just look at ways of persuading him to make him think it's his idea. Just intonation and things like that. But yeah, you've got it's a different barrier you've got there. Yeah, great. Okay, right. We are past 9:05. So people, if you're joining us in the live lounge and you need to go, we understand. I can see the numbers dropping down a little bit. People here on the STA panel, are you okay to stick with us for another 5-10 minutes?
Yeah.
Do you need to go? Yeah. Please, I know you've got other lives going on. I can see you've got other lives. I've seen your garage and I've seen your room and I've seen your shed. But we have now got Steve's creation in the back of the garden. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take off Louise's shared screen, remove that, and we'll bring up some of Steve's.
Thank you.
And this all started quite a long time ago then, yeah? 14 years, did you say,
It's
Steve?
been 14 years, yeah.
Right, let's bring up some images for you, and you can talk us through them. We can still hear you when it's behind.
Yeah, our garage came down, and we started to build that. There's a young man who's been a patient, a guy called Simon, who's a very good carpenter. And one of the big things with that is a lot of insulation on the floor, in the roof, and everywhere. So you probably see the sort of the dividing walls where Simon's working. We've got heating, we've got electric there. And it's I'm not really an estate agent, but it's served its purpose, and it's serving its purpose, and it does an absolute great job.
Did you say, sorry, did you say you knocked down your garage to make room for this then, or?
Yeah, our garage was not, it wasn't fit for purpose.
Okay. Yeah.
Really, and this came up. Yes, we've got a separate entrance, and yes, we painted it a couple of times, and my wife Jackie is very, very good when it comes to the floor of the garden, and just to feel people relaxed, and when they come in. I think one of the big things, people, stress is very real. It's physical, physiological, and psychological. But if they come into an environment to which they can unwind, that is a much better thing.
Definitely. And electricity and plumbing, what's the setup?
Yes, electricity is there. No actual running water there, but you can use all your equipment and you can work very, very well there.
What have you guys got? This is for you, Steve, and if anybody else wants to jump in. Working at home, what about if your client wants to use the loo? What have you got in place there?
Right. Well, we have got a loo in our ground floor that is very, very nearby, and basically you can sort of escort and just make sure that they're okay, and sort of going through. Yes, that's one of those things.
Is it kind of quite impersonal, or are they kind of walking through the kitchen and kind of going sorry? And
well, yeah, but I think the fact is that we're all human, and the fact is it just helps with the business atmosphere, really.
Yeah, I can get that. Other people, what's your situation if a client wants to go to the loo? Do they go in the house, or?
Yeah, our downstairs loo, basically the way you get to my room is you come up the side of the house, And then the downstairs loo is in kind of a back hallway, so they can go straight in through the back door, and the loo's right there. They don't have to go through the house. I do always have to apologise for all the wellies and trainers and bike helmets and coats and dog leads, and so on and so forth. I do, so on my website, I've got a great big FAQ system page, and one of the things is, what's your room like? Is there a toilet? And it's like, no, there's not a toilet. Obviously, if someone comes in there desperate, I'm not going to be like, no, go up the garden and pop over the hedge. That's fine, you can use the loo. I kind of manage that expectation, so people know, no, you will be going into
Very
my house.
important.
Yes,
That's
it
good.
is my home. Yes, the downstairs loo has got a great big picture, which is a 2000s era video game cover that my husband used to play, and his brother brought in the artwork, so it's like elves and dragons and that kind of thing, and that's fine.
Could be worse. Could be worse.
You know, I think you know, people are coming to your home at the end of the day, and if you're going to pop in and use the loo, the kitchen door's shut over, they're not going to get leapt on by the dog or the child, most likely. Yeah, they can use the loo.
Very interesting. Let me just expand this again for you. You recently changed it. So again, listening to the podcast, you can't see it, but I love, or there's a little image of inside, which looks beautiful. Again, it really is. It looks so welcoming and clean. And it should be, there's the man himself.
It's my new bench. I had my other bench for best part in nearly 12 years. And I needed a gas strut, and I rang the manufacturers, and there was silence on the end of the phone. And they said, we don't make that anymore. My old bench cost me £75. That new one cost me quite a bit more.
Yeah.
14 years later, yeah, I can see that. And then you recoated it. What was the reason for the change? Was that just, what was the reason for that?
Just to make it, just a bit of decorating. And I must admit, the big thing was, I was down with my wife. We went to B&Q, and Jackie was off looking at I see other bits and pieces, and I was just sort of chatting to the folks where they were doing the paint mixing, and I said, "What does that look like?" I said, "Oh, that's a really nice colour," and I called Jackie over. And then we had a bit of a discussion, and they said that looked nice on the treatment room, and so it became this sort of.
It's nice.
Very nice, lovely, very nice.
Lovely, yeah, it's good.
And I particularly like this little addition outside, which you can talk us through.
Yeah, I think one of the big things is that I find like a lot of my clients and patients, they're chatting about things, and they're chatting about life, and one of the things is that if they're sort of elderly or anything like that, and you've got a bit of time, and it's in the summer, and they want to sit down and just have a natter. I think sometimes the physical and the psychological is actually quite good, because the fact is, when they put the world to rights as well, they go away and they are much happier when they've been treated, and they're coming back again, and they're a lot happier.
Definitely. I mean, it's a lovely little 3-seater garden set. It's perfect.
And also their other halves can sit there, read the paper, do the crossword, or anything like that.
Yeah,
very
that's
clever.
a good idea.
And have a cuppa.
Yeah.
Like that.
Do you
So
find
cool.
as well, do you ever, I don't know how close you do your appointments together, but I'd imagine that if they were quite close together and somebody is, we've all got those really lovely clients, but they do hang around and take an awfully long time to leave. They've got a really nice place to kind of gather themselves and put their things back in their bag and just like take 5 minutes if you do need to go back in with somebody else. I think
Absolutely, yeah.
So they're not being rushed or hurried.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the fact is, it's their time, and you're there for them, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? I think it's care. I think that's one of the big things. How are you? That's what it means, isn't it? Good to see you, and I think some of the folks, you might be the only letter of good news that they probably see that day. And I think that the fact is that, it's really good to see you. And they go, oh, really? I've got this, I've got that, I've got whatever. But, I think one of the jobs as a therapist is about picking people up.
Definitely.
You don't pick people up by putting them down, and I think that's the thing as therapists. If we can do that, we've done a big part of the physical job as well.
Yeah.
And it seems that one of the conclusions from today is you can do that pretty well from home. You're inviting someone into your life. So, hey, they're going to open up and talk about their lives. It's kind of like it helps with that therapeutic alliance, which we know is so important. We know the subjective and the information they give you, peeling away the layers is can be hard if you're in a clinic where they're kind of, oh, here I go again. You can get that white coat syndrome where you just don't want to open up a little bit. But if you're in someone's home, it's like, wow.
And just say, when I was in the clinic, I just felt that it was like a conveyor belt as well, because it was like in and in and in and out, and then you didn't have time to really build a rapport as such. As I'm at home, I've got gaps between my clients as well, so I've got that time to just give them that little extra bit that they might need as well, and the rebooking and stuff like that. So I don't let a patient or client go home now without rebooking as well. That's a good key to keep them coming back.
Before we finish, I just want to make sure, so we're not, obviously we're biased because you guys all work at home, but I just want to make sure that our listeners have got maybe some watch out for. What are some of the things you think maybe you should warn people about if they are considering working at home? Nikki.
So you need to think about the tax man, unfortunately. So for me, so there's good news and there's bad news. Well, there's not that much bad news, actually. You do need to consider, so we've got an annual, what's it called? So you've got an annual capital allowance, which none of us in our scale of business, maybe yours, Matt, would ever get anywhere near. But you can write off 100% of the tax. You can write off 100% of your capital expenditure within that same year, the year that you finish it. So my garage conversion, I don't mind sharing, cost about 20 grand all in. Strictly speaking, you can't claim for material changes to the building. So my window and my door getting cut out of the brickwork, I'm not supposed to claim for. But all of the plumbing, all the pipes, all the insulation, all of the furniture, the flooring, the radiators, the gas meter relocation, all of that is claimable. And also the advice that you get off an accountant, unless he is your accountant and he does your accounts bit by bit, is just chuck it all in. So I think the bits of like little fabric of the building, they probably came to about 700 quid if I got my builders price them separately. So I had a pretty crap year income wise last year. So when I put my 20 grand capital allowance in, I didn't have to pay any tax because it balanced it out. I only made about 20 grand last year, also sharing a lot there. But because there was that 20 grand capital allowance, all of a sudden I didn't owe any tax. And what that meant for me is because we're self-employed and we have to pay our tax in advance, the tax that I'd paid last July as towards the July before rather, towards the tax bill, I got that as a refund.
Nice.
That's good. Yeah.
It's your own money, but you still get really excited when your taxman gives you anything. I felt like I won.
It just doesn't happen very often. It's just like,
It doesn't.
Come on.
And then
So what's the warning there? Just make sure you've got your accountant.
Make sure that you understand the implications of everything that you're doing.
Okay.
Yes.
And don't. So I mean, mine was 700 quid, and everybody kind of just went, no, they're not going to be looking into that. If I got found out in an audit, then you would get fined. But the taxman's interested in far bigger fraud than you would be for me for a window.
Okay.
But no, the warning is make sure you're aware of the important things like insurance, building regs, tax implications, and mortgage if you're doing anything at your home. And I'm, like I said, I'm happy if anyone's got any questions at all, whether it's straight after this podcast, like in the next few weeks or in the next few years. I'm always happy to share my experience, and I'm sure everybody here is as well.
Yeah, we'll make sure there's links there. Any other bits of advice before we go?
I think I would just say, like, the advantage of having your treatment room at home is you can control everything about it. You can make it exactly what you want it to be. But the disadvantage is that means you have to control everything about it. Like, it's all on you. You have to do your risk assessments. If anything goes wrong with it, you are going to have to be the one that fixes it. Whereas, if you're renting a clinic space or something and the window starts leaking, you can be like, "Oi, landlord, sort it out, please." You are going to have to fix that yourself. So you just need to be ready that, like, yes, it's great you have all the control, but you do have to take all the control as well.
That's a great way.
I'll jump in, Matt.
Yeah, go for it.
Right, well, I think one of the big things is just going along with what everyone said. Keep every single receipt for your, for your tax man. Keeping with all the official bodies. You've got to be whiter than white, and the big thing is, and just also that everything's clean, everything's welcoming, and the environment that that individual, that patient walks into welcomes them and they want to return.
Very cool. And Louise, you mentioned, an important point is, you have got to remember that there are other people who live in that house and it's not just your business. So you mentioned, the noise and stuff. Any tips on that, or just letting people realize, is there a certain kind of, do you have to improve communication with your family, let them know what the deal is? Oh, gone back to Minnie Mouse again. I'm going to have to do so much editing on this episode. Thank you, Minnie. That's good to know. Sorry, we can edit that bit out. Great. Okay.
I think someone on the chat also, was it Soma Sports Massage on the chat, also made a really good point about safety from strangers. And yes, you do have to think that you are inviting people to your home and they are going to know where you live. Whether that is making you follow policies. Personally, my husband works from home. And on the days he's not working from home, that happens to be the day that I don't work anyway, and that works quite well. So there's somebody in the house, because I am up in a shed on my own with a stranger, asking them to take their clothes off, essentially. So it's something you have to consider. That said, I used to do mobile, and I was going into their homes, and I much prefer people coming to my sort of space and territory as opposed to me going into someone's house.
Very good point.
Again, I think I've just got this assumption that no one's ever going to do me any harm, and I've never really come to any harm. But that's not. I wouldn't recommend that as a policy for other people. I would suggest. So when I do get staff, I will be implementing a lone worker policy, which will have steps that you can go through, and there are services that you can buy, which is a panic button you can press, and there are emergency services on the end of the line, and so it's valid. You do need to think about that.
Yeah, I was thinking panic buttons. I don't think it would necessarily cost too much, but it's something we'll probably touch on when we talk about the mobile event work. But it's an important point. Good point.
Yeah, a friend who had her staff working alone at their clinic, which was in a public building. You just get this it's an app that is provided by a service, and each of the therapists knew which buttons they had to press on their phone, and it just went straight through. Nobody ever used it, thankfully. But
yeah, good. But it's there. It's very clever. Yeah, very good. Right, look, I'm just conscious of the time now. It's like we've gone an hour and 20 for this episode, but there's so much information in there, guys. I really appreciate you giving us your time and sharing it. People in the live lounge, thank you very much for joining us as well and sharing your questions. I hope you guys have enjoyed it as much as I have, just an insight into different ways of running your business. And hopefully what I'd like to think is that there'll be some follow-ups on this. Now, the best place to leave follow-up questions is probably YouTube. The reason why for a while I just went on YouTube is the shelf life of YouTube is infinite. It just stays there. It appears in Google for results when you put in a question like, oh, how much is insurance for a garage therapy? It will come up in Google. Everything on Facebook just disappears. It won't come up anywhere. So if you do want to continue the conversation, if you listen to podcasts or you've got any questions, I would recommend that you head over to YouTube and use that comment list for questions. I will always obviously keep an eye on it, and if I see anything come up, then I will forward it to our esteemed panel, and we can keep that conversation going, because it's a really cool topic. But obviously, we'll also be keeping the conversation going from a slightly different angle in a week's time, which, if you listen to the podcast, ultimately means that it will be in episode 187. But we will be recording it live on February the 27th at 8 o'clock, and it's going to be how to set up a massage therapy business part 2 in a rented room, which essentially for a lot of people means in a gym or might be in another practice. So if you are listening to this podcast and it's not that date yet, and you're an STA member, then contact me, Matt, at the STA.co.uk if you'd like to come up on the panel and just share your experience like these good people have done here. It's so interesting hearing from fellow clinicians about the recommendations and the advice and the tips which comes out tonight. It's been incredible. So if you'd like to be part of that, then do email me. And then in 2 weeks' time, in episode 188, which is going to be March the 5th, I think. That'll be all about how to set up a massage therapy business, doing mobile work and events, and probably crossing over, you know, like our good Louise Asher here does, working from home. And you don't have to say anything, Louise, it's fine. We don't need that noise again. So yeah, if that's your bag and you've got experience and things you share, then again, contact me, Matt, at sta.co.uk, or find me on social media. Even if it's One Chat Live, just find me and message me saying, Matt, I might want to be on the panel. Because it's okay, isn't it, guys? It's not as nerve-wracking as sometimes you think it's going to be.
It's easy. I mean, you don't have to bring wine, but it helps.
I will definitely bring wine if there's
Obviously,
ever enough
if you are listening to the podcast, then drink moderately. Right, so thank you very much.
I'm in the heckle lounge. You don't see it, you see, because it's all typing.
Thank you to my wonderful panel tonight, my co-host Nikki Mansfield, thank you very much, and to Hannah Tabran, Joe Holloway, Louise Asher, Steve Kirby, and Gary Benson, who was in the lounge tonight as opposed to on cam. So thank you for everybody who joined us in the lounge as well. And if you are listening to the podcast, then do please leave us a rating and a review. It just helps us appear higher in the rankings, which means the good word gets out there. No one makes any money out of it. It's just about spreading the good word of our guests to a larger audience. And the only way we can do that is by people leaving ratings and reviews. So do take time, please, to do that, especially if you're on an iPhone. If you are one of those and you have an iPhone and you can't handle the thinking behind Android, then all you got to do on iPhone is go to your innate app. It's there for you. Just click on the button that says podcast and then review. It's very simple on iPhone users. So yeah, please do that. It'll take you about 5 seconds. If you are an Android user, you've got to kind of change your phone, brick it, change it, root it, do all sorts of things to get a review. It's more complicated, but anyway. And if you are listening to the podcast and you want to join us live and network, then yeah, come along to the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel, or the Facebook page, or the Facebook open group, and you can hang out with us. And it'd be lovely to see you, and you can share your opinions directly with our guests. So that's it. Thank you very much. And don't forget, most importantly, take care of each other.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.